Good afternoon, Gauntleteers, Metalheads, Headbangers. Today I'm pleased to have with us Mr. Mick Rotella, a full-blooded Italian, and one hell of a musician.
Well, thank you very much.
And he's with the band Metrekis, headquartered out of Minneapolis, St. Paul, I believe.
Yeah, we say Minneapolis, St. Paul, but it's really kind of we're like on the opposite ends of the city, so it's just easier to say that Minneapolis, St. Paul, and just be done with it.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, well, how you doing today?
Not too bad. Just trying to take it easy here. The weather kind of sucks where I'm at, so just kind of staying inside today.
Yeah, I remember that I lived in Minnesota.
Oh, did you?
And I lived in North Dakota.
Oh,
that was bad. That was cold. That was the kind of cold that if you didn't prepare, you died.
Well, it's the thing about living up here is it gets so cold and you go outside and it feels like somebody slapped you in the face.
Oh yeah, the needle feeling on your face, yeah.
That and probably almost worse than that is if you ever get in your car and you lean forward and then your jacket rides up or something and your back touches the...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You just want to punch somebody hard because it sucks.
I know. I told people from the South we had plug-ins in our parking lots. We did when I was there last. May have changed that, but to keep the plug heater warm.
Yep.
And there was like a plug-in hanging out the front of most cars that were sold in that area.
Yep.
And they just didn't believe me. They couldn't believe it. And when I traded it in, all the guys from the shop came out and looked at it and said, "What the hell? I'll be damned."
You know what? I lived in Texas.
Me too.
And, it got down to 50, and they shut the entire city down. And I'm in shorts, and they're like, "You're crazy. What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Well, this isn't that bad to me,
Yeah, we'd be playing Frisbee and suntanning in this back home.
Yeah. 50, man. I need to live where it's 50 at the coldest.
Yeah. We've had a pretty good fall here in Kansas. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Sure.
And it's been really good. Not too hot and not too cold. It's like perfect.
Sure. It's been fairly mild. It's been a mild summer here, and last winter was pretty mild as well. I don't even think I used my snowblower once,
Mm-hmm.
So I can't complain about that, but I still like the heat, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but then you go to like Arizona or something, and it's like blast furnace. I mean.
Yeah.
It's just like you can't get the right. Southern Cal is probably the best place.
Yeah.
Mid Cal.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So you look like you're in your studio.
I am, and there's my dog. Go away. Go. Yeah, I'm down here, and this is actually where we recorded the last record. I was basically here.
The first one?
The second one.
Okay.
Kill Your Captor.
Kill Your Captor, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a few minutes here, but can you tell me about the name of the band? Does it have any meaning, or did it just sound cool, or?
I think what it was our old bass player, Ty Hall. This was before that I joined the group, but they were trying to come up with a band name, and I guess he came to practice one day. He goes, "I got a really good name," and they said, "Well, what is it?" He goes, Metrekis. And they thought about it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then of course they asked what it meant. And he said, "Oh, I looked it up last night. It's like the Greek god of music or something like that, And then of course they were like, "Yeah, this is great. That's everything." Well, it turns out he was very big into playing D&D. Not even video games. I'm talking like with the book and the
right, the dungeon master and all that.
He was a dungeon master, so he made it up as a character. And then he just brought it in, made up kind of some BS story, and then they bought it. And so. But I think if you look it up, I think I found someplace that it actually does say like Greek god of music or whatever, like on some web pages. But it's totally made up, And when I joined the band, of course, I asked too about it, and then I thought, well, I've never heard a name like that, and it's different than everybody else's, so we just went with it, And
Yeah, it
that's it.
works. It
Yeah,
does. I first thought maybe it's somebody's last name.
yeah.
Um,
Well, it's funny because Mike uses that as a like one of his email addresses, and so I absolutely get that you can think that's somebody's name. So
is Mike
yeah,
the singer?
yep,
Yeah, I think I was talking to him on the Metrekis site because when I lost you, I needed a way to find you again.
yeah,
You were lost in cyberspace, so I said, "I'm trying to get a hold of Mick. Can you please give me his number?"
yep.
Anyway, uh, so you were kind of a guitar virtuoso before, weren't you?
I don't know about guitar virtuoso, man, but
I
uh,
remember I used to hear about you though regionally.
hmm
Kind
well,
of a central Minnesota celebrity of sorts, sort of a
no, I just everybody,
Satriani of the Twin Cities.
no, everybody just hates me, so they just like, avoid that guy. No, I just, uh, I don't know about virtuoso. All I can tell you is that, I love playing, and I always have, and I really try to push myself to always be better and to just come up with some stuff that I like and that is as good as possible and keep pushing boundaries. So if people like what I do, I'm completely grateful for that,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm I really do try to work at it. So when anybody recognizes anything, it's nice to be recognized for that.
Absolutely. Um, so, uh, would you say that the overall mission or goal that you guys have is to try and bring back and recreate some of the AOR hard rock from the old days?
I think for me, I honestly I don't try to recreate anything because I think for us it's more about just being who you are and being original.
Okay.
I think a lot of times these days bands it's for some reason it's okay for bands to sound like other bands and they never get beyond that. They don't think about that. They just go, I
That's
can do
because the
this.
quality has gone down so far because Spotify sucked all the money out of the business. Pardon me.
Yeah. Well, and it's I just had a conversation last night with somebody. There's a difference between wanting to be a musician and write and push boundaries as opposed to being a rock star. And
Mm-hmm.
people want to be a rock star, and so do I. That's I mean that's the dream, I guess, right?
Right.
But at
Absolutely.
the, at the same time, I look at it like if somebody's doing something, if they have a sound or they have a anything, I don't want it. I wanna be my own thing.
Right.
And so when you say recreate these old things, well, that's not necessarily what we're trying to do, but we play what we feel, and if it kind of takes you back to that era a little bit,
Right.
great, that's cool. We're where our influences right on our sleeve. At the same time, I think we don't just do that. I think we've pushed things and moved things a little bit and progressed, and
Okay.
so there's a little bit of everything there.
Right. Okay, so that kind of clears up something. I thought I read that in your PR pack, but I didn't catch it quite the way it was worded in there when I listened to the record.
I think what it says in there is something to the effect that we are rooted in old school metal.
Okay.
But we also have a modern edge with dynamics.
Yeah,
Some
it uses the term roots metal in
hmm
here, or roots metal, however you describe it up there. Now I forgot. Um, uh, but yeah, uh, so I'll give you a little example on bands that sound the same. The subgenre death metal
hmm
is saturated beyond belief. I
hmm
mean, another death metal band every 10 minutes
Sure.
It was kind of like late 80s with the hair metal when it got saturated and all of a sudden,
Yep.
bam, it was gone.
Yep.
I actually interviewed Stephen Piercy one time, and he had heard about Van Halen up in up in L.A. He said,
Mm-hmm.
"There's a band called L.A. up there, guys. We got to get up there." And he just took off and said, went to L.A. And then he heard Guns N' Roses in the late 80s, and he said, "That's the ball game. I'm going back to San Diego."
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But, you know, you could tell the tide was changing a little bit.
You know, it's funny because I have a theory that goes, if you have not set your own pace and you have not come up with anything original, and you're in a genre or subgroup or whatever, if you are not one of the four first bands to do that, I'm pretty sure you're already lost, you know. And
Yeah,
I'll
I
give you
think
an
so.
example of like, you know, the big four: Anthrax,
Sure.
Megadeth, Metallica, and Slayer. We all know those guys, and then but the bottom tier below that is like what, like Exodus,
Testament, yeah,
Testament,
Sepultura.
stuff like that, and we know them too. But below those four, nobody really knows anything. You
No.
know, you've got your top tier, your bottom tier, and then below that, there's really nothing. You know, they're not
Mm.
that successful. Well, like the top four is. So I was
Right.
trying to impress on people, man. Don't follow anybody. Do, you know, your own thing. And just because you can do it like somebody doesn't mean that it's, you know, awesome. You know, if you really take what you do seriously, you know.
Yeah, style and creativity are much more powerful than imitation, I think.
I
Um,
think you remember, and I always bring this up too. You remember a band back in the late '80s, Kingdom Come.
oh,
Remember
hell
them?
yeah, they sounded like Led Zeppelin, kind of.
And what happened to them?
I don't
No,
know where
nobody knows
they're
because
under
everybody
mothballs
ridiculed
in
them.
my attic.
Yeah, everybody ridiculed them because they sounded like Led Zeppelin. But these days, you can have a band, 100 bands sound identical, and for some reason, people buy it. People are like, "Yeah, that's great," you know. And I just don't like that. I think,
Yeah,
you
I
know, if
don't
you sound
understand
like
it, quite
somebody.
frankly.
What's that?
I don't understand it, quite frankly. You know,
It's
the first two or three, or we'll use the magic number four, death metal bands to innovate
mm,
the style of guitar playing, blast beats on the drums, and the growling voice that sort of sounds like Cookie Monster.
yeah,
Um,
yep,
they were innovators of
yep,
of a sense. They were making abstract, kind of an abstract art out of music, right?
yep,
But then that's all there is. And there was the black metal movement in the Scandinavia where, you know, they had a little different style where they were a lot of, you know, strumming and a lot of taking the chords apart and hitting each note in the chord.
hmm.
Can't remember what the name for that is, but
It's like
um,
arpeggiating a chord.
arpeggiating. Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry, but thanks for bringing that up. And the corpse paint and all that kind of stuff that they did in the black metal scene. And there was some bands that were at the beginning, and they're the ones that everyone wants to hear.
Yeah.
Just imitators are so uh, bountiful now. I just feel like it's about to completely go away. You know, it's hitting that saturation point.
It's you know, I'm going to piss a lot of people off by saying this,
Well,
but
I probably just pissed a lot of people off. I might have to edit that out because I interview those guys all the time.
they, you know, if you just go look at bands too, I mean, every single band I see is got like the camo shorts on and
Yeah.
just and a black t-shirt.
Yep.
And you know, it's just kind of like I'd like to tell these guys, I'm like, how am I supposed to differentiate you from anybody else? And then you've got 7-string low tune guitars, and you've got the growly Cookie Monster vocals.
Double drop
You know,
D.
it's just nobody I think really takes it. They want to innovate. They want to push boundaries. You know, they like what they like, and that's fine. We all do. To give you an example, I'm a huge Kiss fan. That's how I got into music. But nothing I do and nothing how I look, is anything like Kiss because they've already done it.
Sure.
Why do that?
Right.
So how I play
Can't
and
be
how
done
I
again.
write is totally different from them.
Yeah.
So
Did you like The Elder?
Elder's one of my favorites.
Unbelievable.
And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you this: there is a record store here in town called No Name Records. Okay, a friend of mine, Danny Beck, owns that. Next month, I think it's the 11th or the 13th, he's going to have his 3rd annual Elder Fest there, right?
Really? That sounds cool.
So, this is the 2nd year in a row. Last year, me and another local musician, Todd Jameson from the band Good Bars, we did an acoustic set in the store for that show, right? And we did Elder songs and everything. Well, this time we've amped it up. Now we've got a full band. We're going to have a full electric band and play a bunch of stuff off the Elder and a lot of other songs and stuff like Fits Like a Glove and Domino and stuff like that too. So it's very fun. I love the Elder. Loved it.
So why did it get so butchered by the critics? And by fans too. I mean, everyone always made fun of it, and I didn't see that it was terrible, but what do you think that is?
Well, I believe it's because they drifted so far apart from their original sound and look.
Mm-hmm.
I think they kind of got full of themselves and thought, you know what, we could pretty much do anything,
right?
And let's fulfill our artistic side instead of just talking about sex and rock and roll.
Right.
Well, that alienated so many people, and bands have cycles. There's no band that has been consistently always great, always, this and that. That was just their low point. Now, the flip side to that is the Elder is mocked and people hated it or whatever. But look at the very next record they made was Creatures of the Night, which is actually my favorite record of all time.
Is it really? I love that record. I know every song on it backwards and forwards.
It's my favorite. I was at that tour when I was 12.
I went to that tour in Bismarck, North Dakota, I think.
Loved it. But you look at that record, look at how heavy that thing is and how great it is. And that was kind of the flip side of the Elder.
It's a monstrous sound.
To me, the best drum and bass tones ever put to any record, even better than Zeppelin, are on that record.
Yeah, the bottom was perfect. It was a great mix.
It was beautiful. It was just amazing record. So, even though the Elder would be considered a failure, although it went gold eventually, which is more than I've ever sold, so I can't call it a failure.
Right.
Look at what it spawned right after that. So I love it. I think it probably would have been better if it wasn't really a Kiss record per se. But you either love it or you hate it.
Right.
I don't know anybody down the middle. It's either you love that record or you hate it.
I tend to try to like something that I think has something inside it. There's something there. So I will listen to it many times until all of a sudden it kind of goes click. Like the album Tool, Lateralis. Have you ever heard of that?
Yep.
It's supposedly done in the Fibonacci sequence on the time signatures, which is kind of bizarre, but they are bizarre.
What that is.
And I said, I've got to figure out what's going on here. And after a while, I just put it down, and then I heard it playing over at the break at a concert.
Sure.
And I said, what is that great music? And then I realized I liked it.
Yeah.
It's just a trip. I think music that takes longer to understand has longer staying power sometimes.
Yeah. I'll be honest, there's been some records that I've had that I listened to the first time, I'm like, oh, this is awful, or I don't really like this. But then I owe it to myself to go back, and then the next time I go back, I pick one or two things out, and then I listen to it again, and it's even more. And then pretty soon I'm like, this whole thing is brilliant. This is great. I love it. And it just takes sometimes to to gel it into your brain.
Absolutely.
And I'm always one that I'm not really one for anything that's super popular. I will give you
No,
one of the
when
most
it gets
controversial.
popular, I think people don't have the right to listen to it because they weren't there when they were popular.
I will say something very controversial to everybody right now, and people have wanted to hit me for saying this, but it's true to me. My third favorite Metallica record and is Death Magnetic. I love that so much. And
Well,
it
it's a
got
good
lot of
record, I think. I mean, I think it got criticized more for maybe the compressed sound they had.
It could be, but I loved it. I thought that's what the kind of music they should have been making since the Black Album. I'm sorry, not the Black Album, Injustice for All. I was not a fan of Injustice at all, you know, and I thought, hey, that's the record they should have made then, you know.
Yeah.
And people just were, you know, want to kill me for that statement. I'm just like, that's the truth to me, man. I love that. I think it was done so well, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, you know, just popular opinion doesn't hold water with me. It's what it makes you feel like, and you know, what you discover with it, you know.
Right. And did you like the new one, the double album?
Yeah, absolutely, I did.
I did not think it was a return to form that was just blowing everybody away, though. It just didn't blow my socks off, so to speak. I was waiting for that feeling to happen, and it never happened. But my three favorites are Kill 'Em All is my second, Ride the Lightning is first, and third is Puppets.
I would go Puppets, Kill 'Em All, and then Death Magnetic.
Yeah, a lot of people have Puppets up front, but I just liked Ride the Lightning for some reason more.
It was great. Puppets, I certainly knew about Metallica before Master of Puppets, but Master of Puppets was the one that really grabbed me.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, what is this? And front to back, it was just amazing. There is, I think two things about that record is when I am designing a guitar sound to play, that's kind of always my baseline is that record, to kind of go back to that and go, yeah, that I really like where that was, you know.
Yeah, it did. And I've heard that in this. I didn't hear it imitated, but I've heard that sort of wah wah, you know, where it sort of flattens out like you hit a wall.
Yep.
And you're doing a bend or something, and it's a deep giant sound. Is it?
And also the arrangements on that record. There's still arrangements on there that it makes me sweat and giddy when I hear that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And again, I'll probably make another statement that people hate. I don't think Kirk Hammett did anything that great after that record. I think that was his pinnacle. I think he was still an innovator then. And then after that, I never really heard too much from him that I really thought was inspiring. But that, prior to that, he was amazing.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people that would agree with that. The Metallica core fan base feels very betrayed by the band, and that, of course, they're not. The band just wants to evolve, right?
Sure.
They want to progress, maybe. But I wouldn't say there was anything particularly out of line in that comment, because I hear a lot of people say that.
And I'm not calling him a bad guitar player at all. I mean,
Right.
he's still a great guy. He's written some great stuff. I'm just saying, as a guitar player, since you know, Master of Puppets, there was nothing by him that just made me go, damn, oh my God, listen to that. You know, it was all just kind of like, yeah, it's cool. You know, I like it. It's not bad. But that you know, the solo for Master of Puppets to me still makes me just goes, ah, you know, just amazing.
Yeah, what's the name of that one again? I forgot.
What's that?
The solo. The instrumental.
Oh, Orion?
Oh, yeah, that's right, Orion.
I meant the solo for the song Master of Puppets.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
But what I loved about Orion was James Hetfield, I think, did that. I think he did the solo on that one.
Wow.
At least for most of it, I believe. But it still was amazing, you know?
Right.
It was absolutely amazing. So, Yeah, that record to me is in my top 3 of all time.
Cool. Well, that's an interesting theory, and I think it's pretty much on the head that at the most, the first 4 innovators are the ones that are going to do something with it for real.
Yeah, and that's not just obviously metal. That's really anything, you know. I mean, it just you, I don't know, and it's such kind of a weird thing because I guess my point is like as long as you're not copying somebody and going, hey, they did it, so let's do that.
Right.
There's a really weird thin line between innovation and inspiration. You know, you can be inspired to do something, but you push the boundaries. You know, you take the 7-string guitar, for instance, which I don't play personally, but the first guy that was really the guy to innovate that and really bring it forward was Steve Vai. Well, his music is not anything like what they use now for that, and it was really Korn that brought that forward, right? And so, you know, Korn did some innovative things. They had their own sound. That's great. But now guys with that the 7 strings and now the 8 strings, they don't really innovate to me. All they do is really bounce on that low end, and they don't explore the entire instrument.
Yeah, so, totally. There are some bands that do explore it, but they're like, you know, projects or something. There was one I went to see one time that was John Paul Jones playing a slide guitar and a guy wearing a kilt with one of those vibra sticks. It was an 8-string guitar.
Yeah.
He was all over the place. It was like a Robert Fripp situation or something.
Wow.
King Crimson.
Right, Robert Fripp was just here too, not all that long ago, and a friend of mine went and said it was just insane, you know.
Yeah, like he's a fan then.
Absolutely. You know, and then there's a different thing too, because, you know, we use these all as tools. But the bottom line is that we're making music, we're making songs. And a lot of times they'll take these things and yeah, you can be different, but in the context of a song, it doesn't work as well. You know, so there's that balance, that innovation and inspiration, and what do you do with it all? You know, when you use these tools as crutches, that's when things get to be a little too, you know, contrived, and they all sound the same because they're just formulated at that point, you know. So that's one of the reasons why I never release a 7-string, 8-string, because I'm like, I can't do anything with I don't believe that would push the boundaries already at this point. Same thing with wah pedals. I just don't use those either. You know,
who's using those anymore anyway?
Kirk Hammett.
Okay, I'm mixing them up with another effect.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I just can't do anything innovative with it, and it just kind of all sounds the same to me. And I think, you know, if you take Kirk Hammett out of it, Zakk Wylde's cornered the market on using a wah, and he does it great. So there's nothing I feel like I can add to that, you know.
Right. So why do it? I got you.
Yeah.
Innovation, that's a great thing to kind of make as your ethos, so to speak, for the band, you know?
Yeah.
And it is innovative music. It's some of the largest sounding music I've ever really heard in a long time. Is that part of the goal? I mean, it sounds like a big monster, you know?
Yeah.
Except for the song about the little ballad about your brother or whatever, or somebody's brother, which I couldn't listen to like the first 3 times because I started crying.
You know what? I'm glad that it got to you that much, because that song, I think that the key to that song was just feeling. You know, it wasn't like you just sat down here and wrote something because we wanted to. That song had a really deep meaning to it, and I am floored because people connect with that song so well, because they have their own part of their life that they can put in there. And even though it's about a specific situation, you know, the lyrics are you know, I don't want to say vague, but they're transparent enough where, you know, you put your own life in there, and that's, as an artist, that's really what we strive to do. And
Yeah.
we've had a lot of people come to us and like cry, and you're like, wow, that's just amazing and beautiful, and we're like, can't thank you enough that, you know, we must have did something right on that one, you know.
Yeah. Well,
And as
it's
far as
definitely different than some of the other slower songs. And lyrically, it's different, and the lyrical melodies are different, and the arrangement's a little different. So maybe it hits something in your amygdala or something and triggers it, because you guys are basically changing the pressure around people, right? And
yeah,
causing them to have a resulting emotions. You basically can change the way people feel. That is cool.
you know,
I'd
and
like to have that ability.
well, you know, it's funny because it wasn't something that I could have just sat down and said, today I'm going to write a song about this. It was long hair son, years ago, had a friend of his, and they stayed together for the weekend and hung out and did whatever. And the kid went home on Monday. He killed himself, put a shotgun in his mouth, and
Ah,
killed himself. And so
that's
when the
what I
funeral
thought.
came about, the family had asked his son, Justin, could you write the eulogy? And Justin says yes. So he wrote this eulogy, and then it was written out on a piece of paper that they handed out to everybody. Many years later, Longhair came to me, the singer, and said, can you write a song about this? And he told me the story, and I says, wow, that's pretty heavy. Let me see what I can do. So I sat down pretty much that night, and I had that eulogy in my hand. And the eulogy is not word for word the lyrics of Brother, but they're very strongly influenced, and I think I captured what it said.
Mhm.
And so because of that
Totally.
emotion, because of that story, because of how heavy and how connected it all was, because we've all been affected by suicide some way or another.
Oh
It
yeah,
just came out that way.
that affects
And
me. I've been done too many eulogies. I'm getting sick of it.
yeah, and I think that's another reason why it connected so well with people, because, you know, we don't like to talk about it so much. We don't like to really know, and I don't think there's really any accurate statistics on suicide, because I
Right.
think it happens way more than anybody knows. And not
It
only
seems
just,
like it's on the rise lately, actually.
yeah,
And
you
you
know,
see
and
all five of the original grunge groups from Seattle. There's only one guy left, and the rest of them
yeah,
killed themselves. And it's Eddie
yeah,
Vedder with Pearl Jam. The
you
other
better
guy,
wrap him up in bubble wrap, man.
what's that?
You know, I mean, so I think we just really connected, and hit the mark on that song, and I think Longhair did a really good job of pouring his heart into it, you know, and I'm not happy that we had to write that song, but I'm happy that people feel something about it, and they love it. And when
Yeah,
we've played it live, you know, I talk about bands kind of all sounding the same, and not really being original. Well, we've played that, you know, in kind of festivals and everything. And the funny thing is, like, out of all the bands that you would see at, you know, a particular show we would be at, it was always that song was the one that people remembered out of all the bands that would play. It's like that one, and I'm like, that's why we do it, because it's so dynamic, you know,
yeah,
hard to forget.
and it's very innovative, uh, but when I think about what you talking about, all the emotion that was poured into it, it almost seems like there was physical despair inserted into the song. You know what I mean? Like a
I think you could feel that. I think,
paranormal-ish thing or something.
yeah,
But
I think it's that's just, you know, as a songwriter, if you sit down and write a song, you go, I'm going to write a song about 9/11, or I'm going to write a song about a car crash, or whatever it
sure,
is. You know, if you're outside the scenario, you can still write a song. You can write a really good song, but if you're inside that emotion, if that has happened to you, and you're basically transcribing what happened
yeah,
from inside, it comes out more pure. And I think people see that. People can feel that, as opposed to just, I'm just going to write a love song, you know. And that's really what happened with that one. Is it really came down, and it really came together quick. I think I wrote that whole thing. Maybe I had 75% of it done in probably 30 minutes, and I think I finished it the next day.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say about some of the greatest songs of all time. They came out fast,
Yeah,
you know, and
you
they
just
didn't
feel
think
it.
they didn't think they would do anything either. A lot of people that write.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it was kind of a weird thing because as I wrote that, I was kind of like, okay, well, how do I start this and whatever. And if you listen to it, if you're a guitar player, I finger pick the whole thing. I didn't use a pick on that. I don't strum it. That's all me finger picking that.
yeah,
And
that's part of that's part of the uniqueness of it for me
yeah,
anyway.
absolutely. And you talked about the big sound or whatever. Well, you know, I did that, and then I doubled the guitar doing that, and then split it in stereo, and you know, had them going through each side, so
Oh,
it kind of lends itself bigger, you know.
that's really clever, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, because there's one guitarist in the band, and I was thinking, well, this isn't a dual guitar attack, but this bottom is really there, really done heavy.
the
I
whole
felt.
the whole CD, how I did the entire CD, any rhythm guitar that you hear on the album is actually 4 stereo tracks, and I would track. I would use one amplifier and do one side, then I'd track it and do the other side, and then I'd use a different amplifier and do the exact same thing, and then I would pan everything in stereo, and so you get this really really big sound, and that's we talk about having this big sound, and that's because I did 4 tracks for every rhythm that you hear.
Wow.
And for most of the solos, I double track the solos too and pan them left and right. So that's why a lot of those sound really big, you know.
All right, I'm gonna come up with a subgenre for that. I won't be able to do it right here, but I'll come up with something. I guarantee it.
Sure.
Anyway, I'll get it out there in the metal sphere too, because they catch on to that stuff really quick. I remember one time I interviewed a band called Hyperglaive.
Sure.
It was from Conan stories or something, and I said, I'm gonna get people to start talking about this.
Sure.
And I put it in a record review, which there's a lot of reviewers who just talk about abstract things like this album is very brutal. What the hell does it sound like? Tell me what it sounds like. What's that?
BROOTUL. Brutal. Yeah.
Or this album is like you know, a saw or a meat grinder eating up, you know, blah blah blah. They use analogies of abstract notions that don't really describe sound. They describe the, I guess, the utter extremity of the music. I try to talk about how it actually sounds.
Yeah.
And so I was doing a review for a Hyperglaive, and so I put that in there as a descriptor. This
Sure.
record is just like a Hyperglaive, and all the other publicists and writers started using that word because
really?
They use the same word so many times it just gets old, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, okay. Well, was there a moment of truth for you when you said, "I'm doing this for the rest of my life," and you knew?
Well,
some people.
I think as soon as I started, I just was like, you know, well, I guess not as soon as I started. I had a friend of mine, Sean, when I was growing up, and I thought at the time he was a very good guitar player. And there was a point, and he kind of really taught me how to play and a lot of different things. And there was a point where I must have been about 10 years old, 11 years old, that I eclipsed him pretty quickly, you know. And I just kind of thought at that point, when I played, that was the only thing people ever paid attention to me when I did, because I was never good at sports. I wasn't, you know, a popular, good-looking, you know, had 1,000 friends at all times. But it was guitar playing that was really the only thing that people paid attention. It was the only thing that I really liked. And I've
Fascinating.
never stopped. I've been playing for 40 years, and I've never stopped. I've slowed down. You know, I had a family and I got a mortgage, and you know, I cut my hair at one point, but I never stopped. And now I'm just so adamant about keep going and keep doing because it's not, you know, it's not that I'm, you know, making millions doing this, but it's because that's what I do. This is the thing that I do well, and I want to do more of what I do well and what I like. And at this
Sure.
point in my life, I'm trying to really go, if I don't like it, if it doesn't benefit me, I get rid of it. And if it does benefit me and I do like it, I want to do more of it.
Sure.
And that's just where I'm at right now. And
I
it's
think you'll I
it's
think you'll take it all the way if you can. I mean, I'm not saying predicting that you're going to break out and be a rock star, but you could be. Uh,
that's
who
but you
knows
know what, part of that is
what those
just
are anymore? I mean, Capitol Records doesn't even pay out anything. The labels are broke. I mean, it's just
well,
different. I'd like to bring it back somehow, but it's very difficult.
I think it kind of goes back to what we're talking about originality and being your own person. No one's going to pay you $1 million to be the 1,000th clone of Megadeth. You know, they just won't care. At the same time,
Yeah,
if you are a character, if you are a innovator, people will want more of you. They'll want to know what you're all about, and they'll just want you around, you know. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build us to a spot where we're different, and you can hear us. You know, if you hear us, you'll know it's us. If you see us, you'll know it's us. You know, and a lot of people just don't look at that. You know, I I'm trying to do my best at that, and meanwhile, getting better at what we do. If I don't think I'm that great of a guitar player, to be honest with you, but I'm trying to get better every day. You know what I mean? So, um, you know, with those
so you're
things,
humble because you did some
I
awesome
try to be
solo work
because
on that record.
nobody really likes an arrogant asshole, do they?
I guess you're right.
You
Yeah,
know, and
I'm the
I'm
greatest guitar
truly,
player ever.
what's that?
There's a guy named Devin Townsend.
Oh yeah, he used to play with Vine.
Yeah, but he's kind of like that though. You know, he
Mhm.
kind of thinks his shit don't stink. God, I'm getting in trouble all over the place here.
And the
I'm gonna
truth
have
is
to
the
do some
truth.
cutting. But
I just don't like to be, you know, around. There's no I'm not Ingve, I'm not George Lynch, I'm not Eddie Van Halen, I'm not Randy Rhoads, I'm not any of those guys. And there's even if I was, there's no reason for me to be arrogant about anything. I just do what I like. And
mhm.
if other people like it, I'm floored that they do, and I'm very appreciative of them. You know, I don't do this necessarily for other people, although I do it for attention sometimes, but I just like doing what I do. And
Sure.
so, you know, everybody wants it's easier to work with somebody that is more down to earth and you know knows those things than it is, you know, somebody who's arrogant. It automatically turns me off. And very few arrogant people are really that good, you know,
Yeah, like
or at least
Mustang's a
worth being
little
around.
that way.
I'm sorry.
Mustang's a little on the arrogant side.
Yeah,
God,
it's funny because the worst people that I've ever run into, it's not rock stars, it's not well-known people, it's local people. You know what I mean?
sure.
Like bands and people that think, "Oh, well, my mom bought me a PA, so I'm worth something." It's just like, no. I mean, it's we all have to get along and you know, I don't, you know, care what you have or what you think you're doing. Your attitude is the worst. I don't want to be around you. I won't work with you anymore. You
Yeah,
know.
it's just shocking. It's always shocking to me how people that are part of the local scene develop that kind of attitude. I mean, where's it coming from? Are they insecure or what?
I think it's one of those things where you get a little bit of something, and I'm talking very little, you know, and it goes to your head,
Sure.
what they don't understand is those people that are telling you how great you are, it's usually your girlfriend who's always going to tell you you're great, or your parents who always will tell you you're great as well.
Or somebody
And
who wants to take you out of the band and leave the rhythm section behind or something.
it's something like that. And I think it kind of goes back into another thing about when people talk to you and they give you advice or they tell you something, you have to weed through really, who's telling you that, because I find a lot of times the people that have been very close to me will either say one of two things. Either they'll be completely negative because they're jealous, or they'll just kind of be like right up your ass that they love you so much. And you got to kind of, weed that out too, because they love you, but you can't stroke your ego. And to me, the most honest people are the ones that like you play in front of and that don't necessarily know you. They'll just kind of come out and tell you, you suck, or no, you're really great.
Right.
Those are the kinds of people that you go, okay, cool, because they're the ones that'll go buy your CDs, your shirts, or
Sure.
tell you stuff. So you can't really believe your own press too much. You got to balance between what you want and the work you're willing to put into it, and then advice. I always get advice from somebody who is above you, maybe. As far as your business part of it. So it's a weird world, man. People with these big blown egos, and it's just like, dude, your band, ugh,
It's fascinating. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, and St. Paul, the Twin Cities, has a huge music scene.
Yeah.
It's one of the triad cities.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, what, San Francisco, Minnesota, and Austin?
Mm-hmm.
Minneapolis and St. Paul? So,
yeah.
Anyway, I can imagine there's a lot of that goes around there.
It's kind of funny because there's not that many people that are that bad, but the few people that are, everybody knows who they are and they don't want to deal with them, and eventually they'll wind up screwing tons of people over because of it, and I don't get it, it's just, blah, and you're right, the scene here is really good. It needs to get better. We have a lot of clubs that have closed and kind of cut off a lot of avenues for us. At the same time,
you saw the Caboose?
We do.
Yeah, because I've booked shows there before, just as recently as last year. I should have known that.
The last time that I was at the Caboose, I think it was about a year ago. I saw Stryper there.
I've been hearing about Stryper a lot lately. It's really kind of weird. A lot of people I've interviewed have mentioned them as someone they thought was really good.
Oh, live, man! Holy, they were really, really, really good live. Like much better than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
But I guess they're kind of broken up now, or they got a different. They ousted their Tim Gaines or whatever. I don't know. I don't follow them very closely, but somebody took me out to go see it, and I was blown away how great it was.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we still got the Caboose, and
you played First Avenue, I understand. It was 7th Street entrance or whatever.
Yeah.
You played that's probably the top venue in the city, isn't it, in terms of clubs at venues?
No. There's other ones. It depends. It depends on, not one club does every one thing. So it really kind of depends. You've got, these little basic bars that you can play. And so there's, what's the best ones of those, and the 7th Street and First Avenue all the way up to like, the Myth and things like that. So 7th Street, it's definitely a hallmark if you can get in there. A lot of us have played there, but there's other.
You played there as well. I just thought that was another entrance to First Avenue.
Yeah, it's in the same building basically. It's just right around the corner. So it's it's probably the most well-known club. First Avenue. I mean, that's up there with like CBGB's and
right. It's like stuff on
like
the Strip. Yeah, LA. That's the other city, LA.
Yeah, and we've played the Rainbow.
Holy shit! In Metrekis, you have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
About 2 years ago, we went out to we did a small tour, and we were playing a bunch of places. We were in Los Angeles, and it wasn't. you know, it was actually, I think it was a Sunday night, so it wasn't like it was massively packed or anything like that, but just the fact that we made it out there and we played and you know, it was great. It was one of the coolest things. I mean, people don't understand that the Strip in Los Angeles, that is like going to the Vatican if you're Catholic, you know?
Yeah, we started this magazine 22 years ago in West Hollywood, and knew everyone who was anybody. And then we haven't improved the site, but we're making a brand new one, and we're going to do some real innovative things that are going to change the way people look at music literature. I'm hoping we can find a way to do that.
Sure, that's awesome.
But I've heard that the Strip, which one of the other owners of this thing, has shared a wall with Duff McKagan for a while in an apartment building.
Oh, really?
And you go over there and knock on the door all the time, but no one ever answered it. Probably when they were on their 28-month tour.
Yeah.
So, but I've heard that some things it's kind of coming down a little bit. Like developers are taking over certain places, the Troubadour's going down or something like that. And
I bet. I mean, it's like, you know, you go anywhere and it seems so less unique every minute, you know.
yeah.
We've played and toured across the country, and a lot of places all look the same. They all have Starbucks, they all have Home Depots, they all have Walmarts, they all have, you know, McDonald's, and it's just kind of like they're assimilating they all look like malls.
It looks like wallpaper, you know?
Yeah. And it's sad, you know. Los Angeles is a little different, but I hadn't been there since, you know, I was younger, and I was kind of like, wow, you know, there's a lot of the same things over here, you know, that I don't ever remember being there. But, you know, there's still unique stuff like, you know, the Capitol Records and the Walk of Fame and you know, all these other things are still there. But, you know, everything just kind of gets put together and less unique. And
I don't care for that. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but it's surprising to me how many believers there are in that kind of progress.
Yeah. Well, it's all about money, right?
Yeah, but I mean, there are people that will go to Starbucks only, you know?
Yeah.
Or they'll patronize these places only, and it's just kind of how many there are has always been amazing to me, because I call it Charbucks. I think it's the worst coffee out there.
In our society, we've given up quality for convenience. You know,
it's true, very true.
And I always, because I'm a fat guy, so I always use food as an analogy. And I said, you know, if me and you were gonna say, hey man, let's get something to eat, and we go, well, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna have? We go, let's get a burger. And we can go down the street here to McDonald's and have a burger in our hands in 2 minutes, you know? And you go, well, is that the best burger in the world? Hell no. But I can go upstairs and I can fire up the grill and I can sit there and put the charcoal in it and I can hand make something and we can have something. It might take us an hour total, but at the end of it, it's going to be amazing, you know? And to me, that's how I look at sound as well. You know, it takes a long time to get a good song and a good sound. And it's just exactly the same. We can have it quick and have it out there and have it done, or we can wait a while and we can do it right, hand make it, and the product I think is better, you know. And it's just true, man. Everything is fast and not necessarily great.
Right. That's very true too. People are getting faster and faster at things. I mean, they're trying to outpace the other guy, or
well,
it's all driven by your earnings reports, you know, that come out of the corporations, and they try to make them bigger every time. You know, they'll do anything to make that happen. You know,
and the music business has done that too. Because when we were growing up, I remember bands largely had kind of a formula where they would put out a record, you'd never hear the band, you'd never hear the record. The second record would come out, and then you'd hear a single or two, and you go, wow, this band is cool. Oh, wait a minute, they've got another record before this? Cool. So you went back to that. Then when the third record came out, they blew up huge, you know.
Yeah.
Motley Crue to me was a massive example of that, you know.
Yeah, they got a
Rat
back
was another.
catalog. I'm gonna go get it.
Yeah, and then it switched now where record companies they want prepackaged bands that have 100% of their own things done, and they're basically just distributors. And then you basically get a single. Maybe your single takes off, and then that's it. You don't hear from them again. You know.
Well, how does a single even take off nowadays? Plays on Spotify?
Dude, I don't even know. Dude, you're asking the wrong guy. We don't have one yet. We don't have that.
Oh,
but,
I guess YouTube videos are a way to measure it.
Yeah.
How many?
Which is sad because you don't get paid for that.
Well, you can put advertising on them, but you get like a penny per impression or something.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just like it's the whole. Again, it's the whole music business is so backwards that we give away our music, our product.
Yes.
You
know? And it actually it is people hurting themselves by doing that because they're actually giving them the band less resources to work with and less time and less everything. I always buy CDs.
Quantity.
Beg your pardon?
It comes down to quality and quantity, you know.
Yeah. It does. Very interesting theory there. So, you know, have you ever paid to play? That's a new thing I kind of believe happens. Like you pay to be support for some big bands to get exposure. Okay,
there's two ways that happens, and I'll give you what we've done for both of them. You have what they call pay to play is usually you have to sell tickets and and then you get on a bill for so and so and blah blah blah. Yes, we have done that. But how it's been presented to us is that here are so many tickets, and basically you sell these tickets, and that's what you will make for that show. We've never been told you have to sell, 1,000 tickets or you don't get to play. We've never done that.
Okay.
We have been given tickets, and then that's basically our pay for what we do, And that I don't mind doing so much because that puts us in the middle of it. But we have bought onto bigger shows before too, and that's just common. That's just, any band that is on like some sort of festival or some sort of circuit, they have paid to be there.
Yeah.
You don't get like a I don't know what we call it, like a warp tour. They don't just pick bands out. Oh, you're great, come with us. They'll go, hey man, how about you come out with us, and it's gonna cost you, $1,000 a day, and then you get to keep most of your merchandise and blah blah. That's just business. That's just what happens, Maybe a band like Metallica will take somebody else out, and they don't make them pay. I don't know.
Yeah, they were in the era where they actually have the net worth each of $375 million. I think that's enough. Except Robert only has 20 million. Oh shucks.
I hope he gets a raise.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it happens, man. That people want to piss and moan about that, but that's just business. That's just how it's done. And if you're a good band, you will make that money, and you can support that lifestyle and that thing that you want to do. That's just business. I don't like it, but that's just how it's been built up, Yeah. And I think if you're a good band and you put on a good show and you got good merchandising and you're good people, that shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
It's just, but we were never products of from what I hear, like in Los Angeles, where they're like, okay, well, yeah, we'll put you on the bill, but you got to sell 1,000 tickets, and if you don't, then you're not on the bill. We're not like that at all. But I have heard of that.
Okay, so you've toured the country. You haven't just stayed locked in the scene there.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Say that again.
You've toured the tour. Well, first let me say I always buy the CD for everything.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
old-fashioned, I guess.
Yeah, and
And
we're
I
the
have a
same way.
collection, and I buy vinyl, and I have to have an artifact of some kind.
That's a
Uh,
good way to put it,
and
artifact.
I wrote a story one. I wrote one of a feature article, 18 reasons to continue buying media.
Sure.
So anyway, it was a interesting study, but yes, I still buy them always.
That's great.
And one of my favorite things now, since the record stores kind of changed just so much, is to buy them actually at a show when they have them up on their merch table.
Yeah, that's what I like too.
Yeah. So okay. So, but you guys have toured around the country. Let me ask some quick questions here at the end because we got about 5 minutes left, I think.
Sure.
I could talk to you all afternoon probably, but the millennials
Absolutely.
will never be listening this long. uh, but have you ever taken a wet wipe shower?
I myself have not. No.
Okay. That's something that a lot of bands have to do because they're in
Yeah.
minivans now and they're not in buses anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have a label representation, distribution?
No, we don't. Not right now. Nope. It's totally just on us right this moment.
Have you got distribution in Europe?
No.
That is a haven of American metal right now.
Yeah, and European metal is just so crazy. We actually got asked once. We're in the process, and we couldn't do it to actually play at Wacken once a few years ago.
Oh my God, you did not.
But yeah, and
Holy shit.
we couldn't get it taken care of. It was going to cost at least 10 grand. We didn't have it, and so I know we could do great once we get over there. We just haven't gotten there yet, but sometime we will.
Yeah. People always ask me, how can we get more exposure?
Mm-hmm.
We need more exposure. I say, get your record in Europe right now because it's exploding over there like crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay. So the next question, I already asked you if you had a moment of truth. You had a gift, it sounds like.
I think it was just inspiration. I'm not going to say there's any higher power in it. I loved it and worked at it.
Well, I don't think there's a higher power. You could have a gift without sentience above you.
Sure. Okay.
But speaking of that, what do you think happens on the other side? These are the gauntlet questions.
I'm gonna be as honest and truthful as I can, and I'm just gonna use 3 words. I don't know.
That's the best answer I've ever heard on that question.
Because too many people put too much emphasis on what they want to believe, and I can only tell you that I'm gonna face it one day, and I'll have an answer for you then. But for right now, I don't know.
True, that's cool. I'm gonna have to write that in my social experiment book.
I've thought a lot about it. That's why.
This is our last question, or maybe a few more, but this is one I've asked everybody because I'm doing statistics on the answers.
Sure.
I have a pill in my hand. If I give you that pill, you will have immortality. Do you want the pill?
I think that's one of those questions that, I have an answer for you, but if I have that pill in my hand, I'm thinking long and hard about it and going against what I normally would think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think death really puts life into perspective. And
another very interesting quote.
And without death, life is meaningless.
That is fast. I'm going to use these on the review part.
And so
you're very articulate.
I've thought about that as well. You think about if you were to live forever and nobody else, isn't that kind of hell? Everything you love will die and go away eventually, but you won't.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes your life worthless if you don't have, if everything around you leaves, you know, it's just lonely. It's a prison. So my answer for you right now is no, I would not take it. But
Yeah, only
given
2%
that,
would take it.
what's
2%
that?
of the population say they would.
I just I would question it long and hard, but at the end I don't think I would, because it just makes everything meaningless.
Yeah, I get that. That's really cool the way you contrasted it that way. Um, so let me just hit on one song. I wanted to hit on all of them, but "Devil on the Devil's Shoulder."
Hmm.
There's an effect in there that sounds kind of like Peter Frampton when he used that thing in his mouth.
It is. That's
I
a
can't
talk
think of
box.
anything else to describe it, you know. But is that a
It's a talk
vocal?
box.
Is that a what is it?
It's a talk box.
Okay, is it so? It's a vocal then, not a guitar
Hmm.
effect.
No, it's both. It's both. What it is, actually, I have it down here in the bass here. What it is it's a small amplifier, and then this amplifier has a hole on it on the top of it where the speaker is, and there's a tube that you put into that hole, and you can run it into your mouth, and then you can put a microphone next to it and record whatever you're doing. So that's basically what it is. I'm plugging my guitar into that, and then I'm putting that tube in my mouth so I can talk my guitar parts. So that's what it is. You're absolutely right. It's the Peter Frampton sound.
Yeah, that really adds to it, and there are several instances of that in your whole record. I
Thank
mean,
you.
there are things that are arranged in a certain way and phrased a certain way. You know, the phrasing of the lyrics is weird, was different to me, and
Hmm.
really, after about the fourth time I listened to it, I was really catching like this is really cool.
Well, thank
Um,
you very much.
yeah, and you know, your song titles and your lyrics themselves are also very cool. Um,
Again,
and
which I try to be really different and try to have things stand out and not be just random what everybody else is doing, because you've never heard the term "devil on the devil's shoulder" anywhere else.
I
You've
have not.
never.
I thought maybe it was something from a colloquialism from ancient times, but
No,
I
that's
love
all
that.
me.
I love that imagery. You know.
It just that was just basically about making a bad decision, and who was supposed to be your anchor and your angel pulling you the other way. Just nope, there is none.
Yeah.
You have somebody else making it worse, which is you basically. And you know, same. There's other things on there too. Kill your captor. That's not
That
something that
is.
you.
Yeah, that was a standout for me.
And so I really try to make these things stand out and be unique on their own, because you don't want to have just kind of bland and just oh, it's the same as another thing or whatever. I really try to make things stand out, with the title and the song itself. And I put a lot of effort and time. It took me 3 years to record this record, really. And I did the majority of it by myself. And I mean, everybody did their parts, but I was the one kind of in the studio putting everything together, trying to make it fit. The song "Shotgun Jacket," that
I
solo.
love that title, man. That is so cool.
Thanks, man. That solo and that song, I literally played for 4 hours straight. I looped that thing for 4 hours straight until I came up with that solo.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, I think that's it. And I recorded it and I listened to it and I go, okay, that's cool. That's fine. That's the one I want, So I did that to the record a lot with everything, and just, I'm just now starting to write more music for possibly the next record, just before I talk to you today. And I'm just going through that little thing where I'm starting here. This is an idea. Let's record it, re-record it, and trying to build it up. And each time it gets bigger and hopefully better. And I did that for the record as well. And again, it's what I love to do. So it's it's not work to me. It's what I love. It's what I'd love to come home and do, and when I have time and everything. So
Sure.
the fact that you love it makes me feel great, because it was an effort, and you know, heart and soul went into it. So if anybody else digs it, man, that's thank you very much.
You bet. I mean, for me, it's unpredictable, and I love that in music. So there are surprises, there are the hair on the back of your neck standing up moments, crescendos, all that stuff. I like a lot of drama in the metal or the hard rock.
And that's, you
And
know, what you're saying is things that I really explain to the guys in the band, almost exactly like that. Let's put some dynamics. Let's change things around. Let's not just go A B solo. You know,
right, Rondo.
let's yeah. And there was changes. There was little things that you know, Devil on the Devil's Shoulder, for whatever reason, and I still don't know why. I wrote that song in like drop C, and I've never done that before. And it was just low and way down there, but I'm like, you know what, this fits this song.
Hmm.
And I you know, right at the end, after we did the vocals, literally on the last day before it was supposed to be sent to mixing, something happened with Longhair's vocals, and I decided to put my own vocals on the verses, and I sent it to him, and I says, what do you think about this, you know? And he goes, yeah, because I wanted to do that all along anyway. So we kept it, you know, and it was just kind of a surprise, and it worked. It was a little different, a little quirky. And so, you know, I love doing that, and what you basically just said, keeping things fresh and different and unpredictable, but still in that genre, and things that, you know, metal brothers and sisters can enjoy.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case for me. Okay, so I'm gonna have to close this up now. We've got another band coming on here, Scream King.
Scream, I like the name.
Yeah.
Tell them I like their name.
Okay, I'll do that. We've been talking to Mick Rotella of Metrekis, and you can pronounce it any way you want, but you're definitely gonna want to go get this record. I guarantee you'll like it if you like something new and fresh and different, and are
Lots of polka
ready for
on
a
there.
change. What's that?
There's lots of polka on there, you know, some light jazz, some I play a lot of kabasas on there, and
The gent
stick with-
polka.
yeah.
All
There's a lot
right.
of tuba on this, man. I played a lot of tuba.
We need more tuba. Yeah. So thank you very much, Mick, for your congeniality and your articulate answers. And this will probably show up in about a week and a half,
Cool.
if I don't have to do much post-production. And so it'll go up on the features and probably reach about 1 million people before it goes becomes obscure. But can I put a sample of your music on it?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Is usually the labels don't let you do that unless they've released it.
Well, I am the label, so
I
I'm
know
saying
that's
go
the
right ahead,
advantage.
you know.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do that just to give them a little taste, and I think it'll help. But because everybody's looking for something different. One of my writers today, just make this real quick, called me and said, I've got to have something. You got to send me an advanced copy of something else. I can't listen to another growler.
Yeah, I agree with
The
you.
guy growling into a microphone, and I'm not criticizing their artistry. I'm saying it's too much of it. That's all.
And I think it goes back to, you know, and this is a whole different conversation, but I think in my mind, it's easier to do that than to sing, to be
hell
a
yeah.
regular singer.
You could,
So a lot of times it goes back to what I said earlier about being a rock star or being a musician. And a lot of guys can growl and do that, but can they sing? Can you sing Judas Priest or Iron Maiden or whatever? You know, and the answer is no. You know,
Yeah.
and I like to hear. I like a little bit of it in there now and then, but I want to hear you sing. I want to hear you sit down and sing. You know.
right. Well, I like, I'll tell you, it's basically atonal sound effect, really. It's not really a melody of any
Yeah,
kind.
yeah.
Anyway, I do appreciate you coming on and spending all this time with me. I very, very much. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope I can come and see you live soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. And this was awesome, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll have to do it again after your next record.
Absolutely. Hopefully that won't be too long.
Okay. Take care, man.
All right. See you later.
Deafening silence in my head. Desperate voices hold me instead. Knocked down, pushed around, silly, not to be found. And when I start to run, my chains get tied and pull me from this so-called life that I am not in.